right now, I know we're all finding ourselves, and everybody just wants to really just fight about everything. You have the men versus the women, sister versus sister, brothers versus brothers, debates, backstabbing, street fights, churches fighting against each other, and I just really think nobody is getting the bigger picture. So I just want to say to those of you who may be going through something today or have been through things and still reaping the consequences of it, I just want to let you know that God is here for you, but you have to seek Him diligently. But in the midst of it all, I just want to tell you not to give up. Don't let go. This is just a test. This is just a season. Make up in your mind today that you're not going to live a life of misery. Give your battle to the Lord. Give your battle to the Lord. You keep trying to do it your way. You keep telling God you're giving it to Him, yet you keep worrying. If you want to get to where you're supposed to be, not where you're trying to be, let God show you His power. Let His word resonate in your being. Sit down and think about what's actually keeping you from being the perfect person God told you to be. Stop being stubborn. Stop being bitter. Let it go, whatever it is. Who cares what that evil person thinks about you? Don't let them take you to their level. You're letting the smallest things test your faith. Stop being materialistic. Stop holding people up that don't deserve to be. Stop being a people pleaser. Allow your children's fathers to father them and know when he can't, and that you need to get your child away from certain situations. But you keep trying to do it yourself. You keep trying to fix it yourself. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. So tell yourself today that you're letting go and you're letting God. Do you feel like you just can't hear God? Are you wondering why your prayers aren't being answered? It's because you're blocking them with your own thinking. You've told yourself that it wasn't going to happen when you were praying. Acts chapter 8 verse 23 says, "For I perceive that thou art in the gall of bitterness and in the bound of iniquity." You have to bind that spirit of doubt. Exodus 34:13 says, "But ye shall destroy their altars, break their images, and cut down their groves." Don't fear disappointing people. Fear disappointing God. We put so much into making people happy, we forget about who we're supposed to be giving all of our reverence to. We put too much on man and in man. Put too much of our trust in man. We put too much of our focus in man, in our children, in our jobs. Not saying that it's not a good thing to put time, but you have to do it correctly. And like I said, just stop worrying about disappointing anyone. Your earthly father, your mother, your friends, co-workers, the church, the camp, the preacher, the teacher, the director, the leader, the mentor, whoever. You have to know that God comes first in your life, or He's going to show you who comes first. Isaiah 42:23 says, "Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come?" Remember that this test is not just for today, but every day you have to stand firm in your faith. Every day. We must heed to the words that God has given us. Everything else is irrelevant. And it's so simple that we make things so hard for ourselves. But today I just want to try to build confidence in those, just a little reassurance for those that may be going through something, because it's hard. It's hard doing it by yourself. And when When you're in the church, you're supposed to know that you're supposed to cast all your cares up on him. And if you're not doing that, then you're trying to do it your way. You're leaning on your own understanding, something that he told you not to do. Confidence. Let's define that word. Confidence is defined as the feeling or belief that one can rely on someone or something, a firm trust. The state of feeling certain about the truth of something. A feeling of self-assurance arising from one's appreciation of one's own abilities or qualities. All of these you should have if you're a woman of God. All of these, you should be confident in him first. And if you are confident in the Lord, then you're gonna have confidence in yourself, because you can't not have it if you know who God is and you know what he is capable of. So just knowing yourself, becoming a woman. Do you know what it means to be a woman? Were you taught the ways of a woman? And if you have not, that's okay, because the thing is, when you come to God with all of your problems, all of your issues, he will take care of them for you. Stop stressing yourself out over things that you cannot control. Go to God in prayer so that he can help you get through the test. Things that happen in our lives causes us to go into different states, but we have to know the way to get out of it is to look to God. Did someone help you choose your mate? Did you know how they had arranged marriages back in the day, and there's just not much of that anymore. And then when you do look at that, most times it's tainted. Sometimes the father or the parents would just be looking to what they could gain from the other family, not necessarily to know if their child is going to be loved. And it's just a lot. Everything is bogus now. But if you do it righteously, I think that something good could come from that. However, back to the choosing of a mate. So if you didn't have any help in choosing your mate, you didn't have anyone teaching you how to be a woman. You didn't have anyone telling you this is the type of man that you should choose. This is the type of man that you shouldn't. Did you know he was right for you? But did you know he wasn't right for you, but you wanted to do your own will? Is he using you? Is he draining your spirit? Do you feel like you can't do enough to make him happy? God did not create you to be miserable. Deuteronomy 30:15 says, I have set before you this day life and good and death and evil. Remember that every choice that you make determines whether you're going to have good or bad consequences. So when you see bad things continuing to happen in your life, you need to do a wicked check, like my pastor says, and you need to check yourself, because something has gone wrong down the line to be causing you all of these problems. And even if you feel like you haven't done anything, just go back and check. And even if you haven't done anything, like Job, he was upright and perfect, but he still ended up having to be tried. He was tried to test his faith. And if you fail in the times where it comes to test your faith, how can you stand in front of God when it's time for judgment? You got to check yourself now. Then it's going to be too late. Psalms 118:8 says, it is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man. Again, everything that you do should be focused on God, and everything else will come after that. And in sequence, back to back. When you do things the right way, things will start happening. And it's going to be, you're going to be so amazed that it's happening. It's going to make you want to keep doing it the right way. But when you're doing wrong, it's the exact same thing. You're going to keep getting wrong. Wrong is going to keep coming to you, and it's going to double and triple. It's just going to keep getting worse. So today, tell yourself that you're not doing that anymore. And, I just want to, like I said again, I just want to try to build the confidence in you today, because a lot of us as women, we don't have any confidence, especially when you have people around you telling you mean and evil things all the time, telling you that you're not going to be nothing. You can't do this. You can't do that. Only if you're with this person, they tell you that you can only do it because of them. No, we are all God's children. We all have the same capabilities. Find what it is God put you on this earth for. All of us are teachers in some sort of way, but find what it is God has told you to do. We are all unique in our own person. However, when it comes to the Spirit of God, we all have that same spirit if we're all walking the same walk. So if you are not walking with the spirit of confidence, and you're not strong, and you just feel like you can't do anything, then you're not walking in the spirit of faith. If every day you're sitting in the house dreading to come home to that man, sitting at work wishing you had somewhere else to go afterwards, you can't focus on your children because of the issues in your environment, whether it's work, school, wherever, I know that as a mother, this isn't something any woman wants for her children. You need to get on your knees and pray to the Father in heaven that He remove those strongholds from your life as well as your children's lives. 1 Thessalonians 5:17 says to pray without ceasing. If you don't have your own words to speak when you're praying, repeat His words. Psalms 119:15 says, I will meditate in thy precepts and have respect unto thy ways. So with that being said, I just want to go on to the next topic. The mental state that we have, in our everyday lives and everything that we do, we have to be mindful. You must mind the company that you keep. This goes with friends, family, spouses, sometimes even your children. We do not wrestle against the flesh and blood, people. We are in spiritual warfare. Psychological warfare is what a lot of people use to get you to where they want you to be, to keep you from getting to where God wants you to be. The definition of psychological warfare is actions intended to reduce or weaken an opponent's morale or their confidence, which I just spoke on. So what type of person wants to weaken your confidence or ruin your self-esteem? What type of person wants to take your zeal, your purpose, your happiness? These are all things that most of us deal with on a daily basis. Sometimes you don't even know it because some people say things in such a subtle way that it seems like encouragement, but it's really not. These are questions a lot of us ask ourselves very often. A lot of women deal with mental health disorders and don't even know it. Here is a list of some of the disorders you may not know that you have, or maybe someone close to you. You can find most of these statistics on sites like mentalhealth.gov or womenshealth.gov. Depression. Depression is the feelings of severe despondency, a state of low spirits caused by loss of hope or courage. And dejection, which is a sad and depressed state or low spirits. You have to know that if you are a woman of God, that this life is built on the foundation of hope or faith. So how can you serve God in a state of depression? What is faith? Hebrews 11:1 says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. There are many different causes for depression. Things that have happened in your family past, chemical imbalances, hormones, different types of stresses. Sometimes could be good stress, like taking a test at school or going to prom, different things like that, especially for our children. Pain from traumatic events in life, sexuality issues, broken promises, postpartum depression, tarnished reputation. All of these things we have to take into consideration when we're, doubting ourselves. Just stop and, try to put your finger on the exact thing that's causing your issues and try to work on it. Do things that make you feel better. Go places that make you feel better. Change your situation. When I'm depressed, I feel a constant feeling of pressure in my chest. Like my heart is going to thump out of my chest, or like my chest is just going to cave in. You feel like you can't get anything done. You're not productive on the job or in your personal business. House chores constantly get put on hold. You never have any energy. Your eating habits go to crap. You always want to sleep. You always want to escape. You can't seem to stay focused on much of anything. You're either eating too much or too little. Everything comes to a halt. Your decision making is drastically flawed when you're in this state. You have constant headaches and stomach aches. All of these things you can overcome by placing all of your problems at God's feet. The Father is waiting on you to make up your mind. He is waiting for you to lean on Him. A lot of you are out here dealing with your children on your own, and it's not easy. But you have to take responsibility. We can't keep making excuses when it comes to our children. Their mindset counts on our own. So if you can help it, stop making babies until you're mentally ready. Psalms 3:1-6. Lord, how are they increased that trouble me? Many are they that rise up against me. Many there be which say of my soul, there is no help for him in God. But thou, O Lord, art a shield for me, my glory, and the lifter up of mine head. No matter what you come up against, you have to know that God has your back. You have to know that He and His power is what brings you out of your deepest pits of sorrow and unhappiness. You have to know that He will and is fighting your battles, but you have to let Him. And now it's time to touch on a subject that many of us don't like to deal with, and that's suicide. There's so many people dealing with these demons and can't get them off of them, even people in the church. Why is that? Matthew chapter 17 and 17. Then Jesus answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him hither to me. And Jesus rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour. Then came the disciples to Jesus apart and said, Why could not we cast him out? And Jesus said unto them, Because of your unbelief. For verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed. Ye shall say unto this mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. Howbeit, this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. But you would think that they would be the ones attacked most, so that faith is always tested in the church. You have to know that you will be tested by the enemy, or you won't be able to fight demons off. The enemy wants to take you down, so you have to stand strong, stand firm in your faith, and declare with God's words that you will not be defeated, your spouse won't be defeated, your children won't be defeated. Today, I'm going to focus on the children. So let's just stop and take a walk around our own house, so to speak, and ask yourself, what's going on at home? Are you giving your children enough attention? Is your spouse or their father giving them enough attention? Do you know the things your child likes to do? What's your child's favorite color? Their aspirations, their favorite subject in school. Do you know your child's learning pattern? Some children can't focus in a traditional setting. Some need more lecture time. Others are more hands-on. Do you know what types of hobbies your children like? Do you do hobbies with your children together? Do you know if your child is an introvert or an extrovert? Can they get out when they need to? Can they have downtime if they need it? Are there things your child is hiding from you? Do you know what type of people your children hang around? Things that you shouldn't be telling your children is stuff like, get over your feelings. You're too young for that. You're too young to be thinking like that. You're not hurting and nothing's hurting you. You're just a kid. And in this day and age, it's even worse because there's so much stuff that they can get into on the internet. You know, this is the age of information. And if you aren't informing your children, then just take a guess who is. The drug dealer, the thought, the prostitute, the stripper, the abused, the abuser, the television, the music, the unrighteous religious people, and just so much more. Another thing, stop trying to live through your children. Your child is going to have some of your characteristics, but you are not the same. That child is not you. Your mind might be a bit stronger and you know how to deal with things that come your way, but children at most times feel helpless and hopeless because of the lack of support or because of the backlash they get for even attempting to speak out. Find out what's on your child's mind. Some children, especially girls, pour their hearts out into writing poetry, short stories, books, and of course, boys. So these children that go through that have these suicidal thoughts, it stems from something, and we have to find out what that is. They're under spiritual attack, and you don't even know it as a parent. Those evil spirits that you have brought in the house, yes, they have latched onto your children. Those negative feelings you talked over your children, yes, those words have been taunting them for days, weeks, months, years. Even those quote unquote encouraging words. You have to be careful about the things that you manifest into you and your children's lives. That mean man that you let talk to you as if you were nothing, they see that. Did you ever stop and think that if your child knows you're sad, that they will be sad too? Suicidal thoughts. Constant thoughts of distrust, wanting to be alone all the time. You can see it online and on TV all the time. You see adults, teens, and young children talking about wanting to commit suicide. Shows like 13 Reasons Why, and it's so many songs that are just so depressing that you can't even listen to it without wanting to cry and go hide under a rock. Kids are trying to fit in at school. They have to constantly keep up their appearance or be attacked by bullies for not having, what everybody else has, basically. You have kids with different types of religion in school, something else that can cause problems. Children that are not able to talk and speak out, especially if their parents have a hard time coping with life. Since the 90s, suicide rates for Black children ages 5 to 12 are currently twice higher than that of the white race. Things such as your kids being moody and irritable, people would just say that that's just a typical teenager. Blacks, are less likely to get mental health care than that of other nationalities. Growing up in the Black community can be a very traumatic experience, especially from having, liquor stores on every corner. You have to see the drug dealers. You have to see the homeless just all the time, the alcohol. You see all of these things all the time in the Black neighborhoods. So you're not only dealing with household issues due to the lack of jobs or having to attend schools that are inadequate. Most parents would consider their children, disruptive or bad as they are labeled in school with the teachers and other authority figures. I had to take my son out of school because he was having, issues with being in school. So why would I allow the school to label my child as something when I could just take my son home and teach him myself? The problem stopped as soon as he got home. So just take that into consideration. If you have the ability to be able to homeschool your child, if your child is having trouble in school, or if you can find another family that does homeschooling that maybe could take your child on, if you can't afford to not work or not work from home, or whatever the case may be, but you have to pay attention to your children and what's going on with them. Dr. Michael Lindsay from, I forget what the name of the group he's with, he made the claim that poverty and mental health issues are linked. How do you, as an adult, feel when you're living without? So just imagine what's going through the mind of a child. And your child, if your child is living in an impoverished state, and you have him going to school with another child who might have a little bit more than them, now that child has to deal with being talked about because he's not in the same space as the other child. These children don't even have the capacity, the mindset to deal with the issues that they face. I just think about all the things a parent or another adult would say to dismiss these feelings. Friends don't really understand because they're children. Family tells you that you're okay, you'll be okay, you're going to be okay, and simply just numbing the symptoms. Another thing is, why do we feel so ashamed to tell what's going on with us? I'm gonna do some research on that, but that's such a big thing. Why are we just ball everything up inside, and then at any given moment you lash out because you've held so many things in for so long that you can't keep holding it in. It's gonna come out. But like I said, we need to find a way to remove that shame We need to find the root of the problem. We have to teach our children to make the right choices, even in the worst situations. Teaching them about making the right emotional, mental, physical, and religious choices. Don't allow your children to entertain certain types of spirits. Pay attention to the games you buy them. Pay attention to the attractions you allow them to partake in at amusement parks and things. We are in spiritual warfare. You need to stop provoking your children, making them reap the consequences of your poor choices and decisions. Take your children out of the traps that Satan has laid out for them and let them know that they are loved and appreciated. Blessings from Yah. Continue to fast and pray. Again, thanks for listening. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. To each and every one of you, I love you.